I think you come to the Belgian to win it. Wabash always fight.
Hello and welcome to the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. And Coach, we get a chance to talk after a really great home football game last Saturday, a 52-20 victory over the Wittenberg Tigers. And it was a game, number one, where your team just came out and executed in every level of the game. Offensively, defensively, huge plays on special teams. I mean, coaching staff and the players had to be excited after that game with the way they played.
Absolutely. Anytime you beat Wittenberg, that's a great win. We played well in all three phases of the game and really took control in the first quarter and didn't look back. It was a great victory.
You really did exactly what you'd want in terms of scripting out the start to a game. They deferred to the second half, took the opening kickoff, marched down and scored. I say marched down, you really did it on the third play of the game, a huge pass from Thompson to Thompson, Connor Thompson into the end zone on the 66-yard touchdown pass from his brother Liam. You got a stop on defense, a quick 3 and out. Came down and scored again, and then you got the big special teams play, which really seemed to be the backbreaker in the game overall. Wittenberg forces a punt. Blake White hits a beautiful punt, and you get great coverage downfield, force a fumble, come up with the fumble, and score on the very next play. So you're midway through the first quarter, and it's 21-0, and it was just smooth sailing from there.
Connor Grimes, who you see as a kind of a backup running back guy, really has been great on special teams. He forced the turnover, and I think you're right, it was a backbreaker even in the first quarter of a football game. And
then you kept that going. I mean, there was no let up on the accelerator. I mean, another good second quarter. Even a drive where they stopped you from getting a touchdown. You get a big Brody Rucker field goal, his longest of his career at 38 yards. Extra points were great all day Saturday. I mean, it really was just great execution. And then you got another fumble. We talked about turnovers after the Denison game. You were able to force some turnovers in that game, but came up with no points. Saturday, you forced 2 big turnovers and got 14 points out of that. So it was even important to get those turnovers and score.
It was. No, we're playing well, and I've learned in my time at Wabash here, you really want to be peaking in November.
One player we do need to talk about, Brock Robertson. He got Defensive Player of the Week honors from the North Coast Athletic Conference. He recovered one of those 2 turnovers, was the co-leader on the team in tackles with 8, had 5 solo tackles, so really a tremendous effort for him on defense. And he's someone that wasn't necessarily penciled into a starting role at the beginning of the year, but stepped in due to an injury and has really made the most of it.
He has done a great job, and he does get better every week. He gets better, and I'm very pleased with that.
A couple of numbers out of that game. Liam Thompson became the all-time leader in North Coast Athletic Conference history, throwing his 99th career touchdown. He passed Jake Knott's record of 97 career touchdowns in conference games. And then Liam passed Jake for the Wabash record for all-time total offense. Jake's numbers, he's now put up 7 miles of total offense in his career. I just continues to impress everyone week after week. Just when you think there's no record or something he hasn't done, he comes up with something new and just is a tremendous player.
And I know people see him on Saturdays. I wish they could watch how he prepares Sunday through Friday to get mentally and physically ready for the game. Then the other guy I've got to mention, Derek Allen Jr. had some ridiculous catches Saturday, caught a big 4th down ball and scored, caught a circus ball in one end zone, and then he caught a circus ball in another. Great afternoon for Derek.
3 touchdown receptions for Derek. That matched his career high and was over 100 yards for the second time this season. So another, and we use a professional broadcast term. He mossed a defensive back in the end zone for his third touchdown grab of the day. So he had just a tremendous outing. And the last highlight from Saturday's game, you won your 100th career victory. You're the 31st active coach in Division III with 100 victories. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. I know when you're talking about these records, many of them I'm not aware of, and I certainly wasn't aware of the 100-win thing. I think when you're watching those things, you mess up, and it's better just to let it play out. And that's really been true with a number of our guys on the offensive side of the ball this year.
Season's not done, though. 2 games left, and the first focus this week is on the Hiram College Terriers. A long road trip to Hiram Friday afternoon. Final regular season road game for 2023. And this is a Hiram team that is interesting to prepare for. They're 1-8 overall. This is their final game of their 2023 season. They're 1-6 in the North Coast Athletic Conference. But this is a team that the starting quarterback, Sean Tejada, last year put up 359 passing yards, threw for 3 touchdowns. Raekwon Davis-Herford had a 100-yard receiving game last year with a touchdown catch. So they've got some guys on offense that can cause some problems. What are some things you've seen on film preparing for this week?
It's interesting just what Hiram team are you going to get. The one that went for 2 to beat Owu and just missed. The one that was down 14-7 in the fourth quarter with Witt. The team that was 7-0 for quite a while with DePaul. It's, who shows up for them, and then certainly we have to contain the quarterback. Again, another good quarterback we're facing this year. They have good players on defense. They're very athletic. So it's really our only focus this week is playing Hiram College.
And, of course, it's a must-win game for the Little Giants because the win against Wittenberg last week means there are only 2 teams that can battle for the conference title, Wabash and DePaul. But you can't focus on next week's game because a loss at Hiram would take all of that out of the equation.
We're just not good enough to not focus on the opponent we're playing that week.
You talked about keeping the quarterback under control. What do you have to do offensively against their defense?
I think spray it around the field as much as possible. Been really happy with our run game the last few weeks. Looks good in November. So again, get all 3 of our running backs going, and you've got to block those guys for 4 quarters.
You mentioned that you want to be peaking in November. Based on what you saw against Wittenberg and what you've seen in practice this week getting ready for Hiram, do you feel that that's where this team is really getting itself to start playing its best football of the season?
I do, and I've seen it in other years here. We'll find out Saturday, though.
That game is a noon kickoff at Hiram. Links to the broadcast and to live stats are on the Wabash College Football Sports page at sports.wabash.edu/football. I do want to also mention, as of the taping of this show, there are fewer than 200 tickets remaining for the 129th Monon Bell Classic, set to kick off at 1:07 on Saturday, November 11th here at Little Giant Stadium. We'll talk more in depth about that game next week, but if you plan on attending the game, you need to go out and get your tickets right now at wabashtickets.com. There is no guarantee there will be any tickets available on the day of game, and again, there are only 200 tickets left anyway to that game, so make sure you go out and get your tickets reserved so that you know you'll have a seat here at Little Giant Stadium for that game. But until then, it's off to Hiram this Saturday. Coach, best of luck on Saturday. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. We will talk to you next week.
I think you come to the Belgium to win it. Wabash always fight.